Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am still doing my series of the story of Bridget. Okay, when we left off, she was 4. And you know I've skipped over a million things. There's so much. I think when she was 3, she might have had her strabismus surgery, which is for crossed eyes. So that was kind of cool. And she also started wearing glasses with a harness. Um, Never thought she would keep them on, but she did. Okay, so now she's 4, and we were planning a trip to Disney World. The trip was probably maybe 3 or so weeks away. So we were getting I got up for, get them up for school. Got Katie up and went in and got Bridget. Now at this point, Bridget was signing. She could sign more and shoe and several other signs. She also could say Katie and Daddy. And if she wanted them, if they were upstairs and she wanted them, she would stand at the bottom of the stairs and scream up for them. Okay, so I get her up for school. And Katie was with me. And it was very unusual because she kind of looked out of it. And she was drooling. And although she drooled, normally it was a different kind of drool. So I said I got a tissue from Katie, and it just was weird. It was just weird. And like I said, I picked her up and she felt normal. And I took her downstairs and I stood her, put her down on the floor. And she basically face planted. She just went timber. And I was like, oh my God. So I quick picked her up. And she was kind of there, but not. And I thought that maybe she was just really sleepy. I mean, it's just the things you don't think of that are happening. Excuse me, she had only had infantile seizures before. So I didn't know that a grand mal could happen. So I think to myself, like I said, that she's sleepy. That's what I'm thinking. So I sat her down. I laid her down on the floor of the living room to change her diaper. And I'm thinking maybe I made the wipes a little colder. I'm like waving them around, that maybe that'll wake her up. Then as I put the diaper on her, I realized she was not reacting. I thought originally she had a stroke. And then I saw the twitching. And she was having a seizure. Katie starts freaking out, saying, I want to go to school, I want to go to school, I want to go to school. I'm like, hold on. So we call the ambulance. Katie's still very frightened. She wouldn't even open the door. So there's Bridget laying in the winter on the floor, having a seizure. I have to go and open the door for the ambulance and call another mom to come get Katie. So, and once the paramedics got there, I knew I had to go to the hospital with her. So I'm gathering her medications. I'm getting my shoes on. I'm shoving things in my purse. I just, had to get all these things together. The dad of the little girl, of Katie's friend that I called, he comes in. He gathers up Katie. She has no lunch. Her hair's not done. I know that's not a big deal for me. I'm just saying that that's what was happening. It just, he just came up and scooped her up with her school bag, and out they went. Because I couldn't do anything with Bridget. I had to concentrate on what I needed. She ended up, and it was totally my fault, she ended up a little hyperthermic. Hyperthermic. From the cold. If that's hypothermic, I'm not sure. So there was a blanket on the couch, and they wrapped her in the blanket for first, because she was so cold. Because the front door was wide open, they propped the front door wide open, and I hadn't, I didn't even feel the cold. So they get her going. She's still in a seizure. Put her in the ambulance, put me in the front of the ambulance, seatbelt me in. I mean, I really had it more together than they thought I did. Because I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, because I knew I needed her medications. And I knew I needed, my shoes and whatnot. So, one of my neighbors came to the door. Oh, and I had called my husband at the time. I called him to tell him we were going to the hospital. So, or I said Bridget was having a seizure. And one of my neighbors came over to the front of the ambulance. She said, "Can we do anything?" And I said, "Yes, could you please watch for Joe," which was my ex-husband, or was my husband at the time. And I said, "Please tell him we're going to the hospital." And that she was going to St. Christopher's. So they're like, okay. And so we get to the hospital, and actually my husband came right in. My one of my girlfriends got there. And actually the pastor of our church, because when Katie got to school, she had told them what was happening. And Bridget was in that seizure for over 2 hours. It was terrifying. They did EEGs. They did MRIs. They did CAT scans. And she was still in a seizure. The neurologist who saw her, they put her on medication. She finally started easing out of it. But she was very out of it. Like I said, this happened early in the morning. So when she finally came to, and she was really acting very normal for her. With my husband and I, and my girlfriend, and like I said, the parish priest came in and gave her a blessing. And so by lunchtime, she was out of the seizure. So they were setting her up in the room and everything, and I had to make sure and I had a cell phone then. I had to make sure that Katie knew she was okay. So I called the school, and this is when I had a break, from they were setting her up. Um, I had a break, and I was able to call the school, and Katie's teacher was in the office, and so Katie got the message that everything was okay, or that she'd come out of the seizure. Um, that night, there was some kind of spaghetti dinner. So my Katie's friend's mom took them to the spaghetti dinner and cooked Katie, and then brought her over to the hospital afterwards to see Bridget. Bridget was totally alert. Um, just seemed like her old self. I stayed overnight with her, and in the morning, I guess it was a Friday because Katie came back over with her girlfriend and her girlfriend's mom, and my husband at the time was there, and Bridget was actually out of the crib and was running around the room with Katie and her girlfriend. And the neurologist came in, and she was like, "This can't be Bridget that was in a seizure yesterday." And I said, "Yeah, she's like fine. I mean, she's laughing, and she's interacting, and she's playing." And the doctor was just like, "This is so amazing." And I thought, "Oh, thank you, God, so much that we kind of dodged that bullet with her." So she gets released that day, the next day. And within a week, I realized how much damage had been done. She no longer signed. She had lost all her words. She no longer understood what a shoe was. She didn't know what more meant anymore. So she kind of returned to much younger, um, understanding than she had when she had the seizure. When we went to Disney World, she was just complacent. She was not involved. Um, she wasn't enjoying or afraid of the characters. Um, she didn't enjoy or not enjoy the rides. She just kind of went along. Although in the plane, she kicked the seat in front of us the entire time. And that was after having a Valium. Because I asked the pediatrician if I could have 2 Valium. One for the ride there, one for the ride home. And apparently Bridget reacts the opposite to Valium than we do. All of the Valium family drugs do the opposite to Bridget. So it was more of I should have taken it because she literally kicked the front of us the entire time. I had to take her braces off. I had to take her shoes off. I had to keep trying to pull. And thank God it's not a long ride and not a long flight. But I kept having to pull her feet up on me. I mean, the person in front of us was a saint. But so we came back, and like I said, a lot of things had to start over again. But she could never master a PEX board, which is pictures of your next thing. Like, if you want the potty, there's a picture of a potty. Or if you want your mom, there's a picture of your mom. If you want due to computer time, there's a computer. There's pictures of all the daily things you do. She couldn't get that at all. She could not identify any pictures of anyone. Her deafness was definitely increased. And her deafness is more of a cognitive deafness. Because there are some things she cannot hear, absolutely. But there's also times if she wants to hear something, she can, but she doesn't understand it. It's kind of like if you and I went to another country and everyone just kept speaking that language, but no one was telling you what they said. That is how she understands speech. She doesn't understand her name. She doesn't understand mommy. Her field of understanding is visual. I can point for her to do something or to pick something up. She does remember most things. She does, like she does recycling here. So I put the recycling in a certain part of the counter, and she will take it and put it where the recycling goes. On occasion, she forgets how to do it. She'll take it and put it somewhere else. She'll take it, she'll put it on the floor. It's just a kind of a, there was a lot of cognitive loss. And she stayed on at that school that she had got burned at. And really, besides the seizure and all the therapies we went to and going to Shriners, and we had an event at Shriners, she needed a scoliosis x-ray. And the pediatrician didn't want to give it to her, but the Shriners did. So the pediatrician called it scoliosis because everyone got checked for it at school, and then there was whoever was checking a lot of times would check wrong, and the doctors and the pediatrician was like, we get so many problems with this that when they get checked at school, they don't have it, and then but they have to get x-rays. So anyhow, so Bridget goes to St. Christopher's, and they said they cannot sedate her. And I said, well, then we're we're all wasting our time. So they finally agreed to give her this sleep enhancer. Again, I can't remember names of medications for some reason. And they took 2 huge vials of this sleep enhancer. Now, she was 5th, 6th grade by now. And her schooling is 2 years per grade. So she did 2 4th grades, 2 5th grades, 2 6th grade. So it'll take her up to 21. So they doubled the years so that they'll get it out at 21 instead of 18. So they took these 2 huge syringes of this sleep enhancer. And she's laying there, and I could hear her. And then she started coughing. And I said, she's aspirating. I said, she needs to be suctioned right now. And the nurses were like, no, she's fine. And I said, no, she needs to be suctioned right now. So they suctioned her. She fell asleep long enough to get the x-ray. So I take the x-ray to Shriners. And the second the doctor saw it, he was, oh my God, what did they do to her? Her entire belly was just full of air. Her lungs were weird, because she had just swallowed half of it and aspirated on half of it. And it just looked, her belly just looked like a big ball. And she ended up not having scoliosis anyhow. Another time, she had to go to see neurology at St. Christopher's. And she had a tantrum. And literally 3 guards laid on top of her, pushed me out of the way, grabbed her, and threw her on a gurney. It was devastating. And I'm like, she's just having, she's just scared. And they rush her into the emergency room. And the emergency room's like, what do you, she's having a tantrum. I mean, it's not even a tantrum. She was frightened. She wasn't not getting her way. She was scared. And so the emergency room is send her up to neurology. They would not let us go to neurology without a guard. So, not so crazy about that hospital anyhow. But all of the things we had to do there, general anesthesia for dental work, just so many things, so many doctors, some of them I don't even know the names for. We had to go to a physiatrist at, in Delaware, at the, I can't think of the name of that place either. And they would quicklime her in because, again, every time we went to hospital, she would just go nuts. And the physiatrist did her braces and her gait and different things like that. So there was just so many doctors involved in her care that, and by that point, all of my organizational skills were gone because so much happened, and Katie was getting older, and she had so many things, and Bridget had all these things, and the doctors were changing as she got older. I mean, we went through 4 neurologists because they kept changing from just taking inpatients to leaving to retiring to the one just being a jerk and me refusing to see him anymore. Because at one point he said, I don't know how old she was, but he said, can she throw overhand or underhand? And I said, it depends on how you give her the ball. And he said, she can't do both. And I said, well then roll the ball to her. So he rolled the ball to her and she rolled it back. Or she threw underhand, excuse me. And I said, now hand her the ball. He handed her the ball and she threw overhand. And I said, what can I tell you? I'm not making it up. And of course, in the report, every report when you have a child like Bridget says, mother says, child can do this, this, and this. So it's kind of like we're all exaggerating, even when they see it. So that's something, if it can give any kind of solace to people, is they do that everywhere. Mother says the child can do this or that, and it just feels like they're saying the mom's in dreamland, whatever. So the seizure took away a lot of my early Bridget. But next time, I think we'll move on to our move to New Jersey, because that was really a positive thing for all of us. So, thank you for listening. Not too much longer. I'm trying to skip as much as I can, and everything. So, all right. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like the video. I still only have 1 subscriber. So, all right. You take care and be well.